I plunged the syringe into the 4-line dangling from the back of his hand, watching the sedative flood his veins like justice long overdue. For 11 years, I'd changed his diapers, mashed his food, and whispered bedtime stories to a man who wasn't my father, because my father had died that night in the lab, and this husk in the wheelchair was me, trapped in his rotting shell. The doctor who did it to us both? He was the one begging for mercy now, his white coat stained with the sweat of a coward finally cornered. The fluorescent lights in St. Mary's hospice buzzed like angry hornets, casting that sickly yellow glow over the linoleum floors that smelled of bleach and regret. It was a Tuesday in late October, the kind of crisp Midwest autumn where the leaves outside turned blood red before they surrendered to the wind, much like the family's secrets I'd been burying for over a decade. I was Quinn Hargrove, 34 years old, pushing 35 like a cart full of bricks up a goddamn hill. My hands, calloused from years of gripping wheelchair handles and folding bedsheets, trembled just a little as I adjusted the blanket over the man in room 214. Dad, or what was left of him, stared at me with those milky blue eyes that used to sparkle when he'd tell stories about his days as a hotshot pharma exec in Chicago.
Now.
They just glazed over, vacant as an abandoned warehouse on the south side. 11 years since the accident at Biogen Labs, where a freak explosion left him quadriplegic, his spine shattered like fine china under a boot heel. The doctors said it was a miracle he survived at all. I said it was a curse. I dropped everything back then. My job as a junior analyst at a podunk insurance firm in Evanston?
Gone.
My fiancée, Sarah, with her laugh like summer rain and dreams of a house with a picket fence, she bailed after 6 months. Couldn't handle the burden. My buddies from college, the ones who'd slap my back at keggers and promise, bro, we'll be there, they faded like smoke signals in a storm. It was just me and Dad, rattling around in that creaky Victorian in Oak Park, the one Mom left us when cancer chewed her up at 42. I'd become his arms, his legs, his goddamn voice. Every morning, I'd lift him into the chair, catheterize him without flinching, and wheel him to the window so he could watch the L train rumble by, pretending it was freedom. But freedom? That was a joke. The real prison was in his silence. The way his lips would twitch sometimes, like he was trying to scream, but the wires in his brain were crossed. I'd talk to him for hours about the Cubs blowing another pennant, the latest Trump tweet storm ripping through Twitter like buckshot, or how the opioid crisis was turning our neighborhood into a ghost town. He'd nod, or blink twice for yes, once for no. It was our code, forged in the fire of desperation. Or so I thought. That Tuesday,
Though.
something shifted. I'd noticed Dad's vitals dipping on the home monitor the night before, heart rate erratic, blood pressure spiking like he was fighting off invisible demons. The hospice nurse, a no-nonsense Filipina named Maria who'd seen more death than most priests, suggested we bring him in for a full workup. Could be an infection. Quinn, she said, her accent clipping the words like garden shears. Or worse. You know how it goes. I did know. Worse was always lurking. Like the bill collectors who'd hounded us after the settlement from Biogen ran dry. The payout, a measly $2.3 million after lawyers skimmed their cut, had vanished into medical bills faster than a politician's promise. Now we were on Medicaid, scraping by on my gig as a freelance coder, debugging apps for startups that treated me like disposable code. I loaded Dad into the modified van, the one with the ramp that groaned like an old man's bones, and drove the 40 minutes to St. Mary's in Elmhurst, The radio droning NPR's take on the latest school shooting in some forgotten suburb. The ER was a zoo, screaming kids with broken arms. Junkies nodding off in corners. A guy in a MAGA hat ranting about deep state flu shots. I signed the forms, flashed my ID, and wheeled Dad into exam room 3, where the air smelled of antiseptic and stale coffee. That's when Dr. Elias Crow walked in. Crow was the ghost from my past. The hotshot neurologist who'd saved Dad that night 11 years ago.
Tall.
Silver-haired. With the kind of patrician face that screamed old money and Ivy League, Yale Med. If memory served. He'd been Biogen's golden boy. The one who'd testified at the inquest, swearing the explosion was a 1-in-a-million glitch in the experimental neural interface they were testing. Regenerative tech, he'd called it back then. Eyes gleaming like a car salesman pitching a lemon. A breakthrough for paralysis?
Folks.
Imagine walking again. I'd hated him on sight. Too slick. Too detached. Like he was reading from a script written by corporate overlords. But he'd been kind enough after the accident, visiting the ICU, murmuring condolences while Dad lay there hooked to machines beeping like a casino slot gone haywire. Over the years, our paths crossed at fundraisers for spinal cord research, awkward small talk over Chardonnay and cheese puffs. Last I'd heard, he'd left Biogen for private practice, raking in 6 figures treating CEOs with migraines. Quinn, he said now, shaking my hand with a grip like wet spaghetti. His eyes flicked to Dad, then back, a shadow crossing his face. Long time. How's our patient holding up? Our patient, always graded. Like Dad was a lab rat, not a man who'd once bench pressed me at my Little League games. Not great, Doc. Vitals are all over the map. Maria thinks sepsis. Maybe. Crow nodded, slipping on nitrile gloves with a snap that echoed in the tiny room. He ran the usual battery blood draw, CT scan order, the works, while I paced the hall, scrolling Reddit threads on r/AMA about what's the hardest part of caregiving. Strangers chimed in with platitudes. You're a saint. Man. God bless. Bullshit. The hardest part was the loneliness. The way it hollowed you out until you forgot what your own laugh sounded like. An hour later, Crow called me back in. Dad was dozing under the harsh lights, his chest rising and falling in shallow rhythms. The doctor's face was pale, beads of sweat dotting his upper lip like he'd seen a ghost. He closed the door, leaned against the sink, and fixed me with a stare that pinned me like a butterfly to corkboard. Quinn, he whispered, voice cracking like thin ice. Call the police.
Now.
My stomach dropped faster than the Dow on a bad tariff day.
What? Why?
Is Dad dying? Crow glanced at the monitor, then back, his hands shaking as he peeled off the gloves. It's not sepsis.
It's...
God. I don't know how to say this without sounding insane. He paused, rubbing his temples, the weight of whatever bomb he was about to drop etching new lines into his forehead. 11 years ago, that explosion at Biogen, it wasn't an accident. And your father, he's not paralyzed. Not in the way you think. I laughed, a bark that echoed off the tile.
Doc.
You've been huffing ether? We both saw the scans. C4, C5 fracture. Complete severance. He's a vegetable from the neck down. Crow shook his head, pulling a tablet from his coat pocket. He tapped the screen, pulling up files, old ones. Time-stamped, 2013. Stamped confidential. Look closer. The neural scans from that night. Biogen wasn't just testing Regan tech. They were pioneering something darker.
Mind mapping.
Consciousness transfer. They called it Project Echo, swapping neural patterns between subjects to heal trauma. My brain short-circuited. Swapping?
Like.
Body swaps? That's science fiction.
Crow.
Get real. It's real, he hissed, shoving the tablet under my nose. Grainy images flickered, brain waves overlaid, two signatures merging like oil and water. One labeled QH-alpha. The other, EC-47. Your father was the donor. You were the recipient. Or vice versa. The explosion triggered it prematurely. When you woke up in recovery, it wasn't you and your body anymore. The room spun. I gripped the bed rail, knuckles white as bone. Memories flooded, the blast, the fire, the searing pain in my skull like God himself had jammed a screwdriver into my gray matter. I'd been there that night, interning at Biogen for extra cash, shadowing Dad's team. The lab had erupted in screams, alarms wailing, and then nothing. Waking up in the hospital, tubes snaking everywhere, nurses cooing, Mr. Hargrove, your son's fine. Just a few burns. Son. My son. The words hit like a freight train. You're saying, I'm not Quinn, Dad's in my body. Crow nodded, misery carving his features.
Worse.
The swap was incomplete. Residual patterns lingered. That's why your father twitches. It's you fighting to surface. And the man you've been calling Quinn all these years? He's an imposter. Elias Crow Jr., my son. He was the tech lead on Echo. He initiated the transfer to cover his tracks. Your real father died in the fire.
Quinn.
But your mind. It's been trapped in this shell, puppeteering a lie. Betrayal slammed into me, hot and jagged as a switchblade. 11 years of wiping asses, of sacrificing my life for a ghost, for myself, and Crow Jr., that smug prick I'd seen at those fundraisers, shaking my hand while living my life.
No.
My life. The house in Oak Park was mine. The freelance gigs. The quiet nights with takeout Chinese and Netflix binges to drown the ache. He'd stolen it all, smirking behind my face. Why tell me now? I growled, voice low to not wake the body on the bed. My body? God. The vertigo. The Crow, the elder, swallowed hard. Because Junior's unraveling. He's been dosing himself with echo derivatives to suppress the bleed-through. Hallucinations. Paranoia. Last week, he tried to kill a colleague who got too close to the truth. If the cops don't get him, he'll come for you, for us. The secret's buried deep, but it's cracking open like an egg. I stared at the man in the bed, really looked. The twitch in his cheek. The way his fingers curled like they remembered typing code, not signing deals.
Me.
It was me. Rage boiled up, thick and black as tar. I'd cared for a prisoner, not a parent. And the villain? My own reflection, twisted by ambition. Give me the files, I said, snatching the tablet. All of them. Crow hesitated, then nodded. But Quinn, real Quinn, this goes nuclear. Biogen's tentacles are everywhere. Politicians, big pharma lobbyists. You'll need proof. Not just revenge. Revenge. The word tasted like whiskey and gunpowder. I'd spent 11 years playing nurse to my own stolen soul.
Now,
It was time to take it back. Piece by bloody piece. As sirens wailed in the distance, maybe for someone else, maybe not, I wheeled the bed out of the room, Crow trailing like a guilty shadow. The nurse station blurred past, oblivious vultures in scrubs. In the van, I locked the doors, heart pounding a war drum.
Dad, no.
Me stirred, eyes fluttering open. For the first time in years, they locked on mine with recognition. Quinn, a rasp escaped, not from the bed, but from my throat?
No.
From me. The drive home was a blur of highways and half-formed plans. Oak Park's tree-lined streets mocked me with their Norman Rockwell normalcy. Kids on bikes. Couples walking golden retrievers. American flags limp in the humid air. Our house loomed at the end of Elm Street, a sagging turreted beast with peeling gingerbread trim and a ramp-eyed installed myself, cursing OSHA regs the whole time. Inside, the air was stale, heavy with the scent of adult diapers and microwave dinners. I parked me in the living room, facing the fireplace mantel lined with photos, me and Sarah at prom. Dad hoisting me after my first home run. The whole Hargrove clan at a Bears tailgate. Foam fingers high.
Lies.
All of it. A Crow Jr. had curated this shrine to gaslight me, to keep the facade airtight. I rifled through drawers, finding nothing but faded bills and Mom's old rosary beads. The tablet, though, that was gold. Encrypted emails from 2013, schematics for Echo, witness statements buried under NDAs thick as phone books. Junior's signature everywhere, authorizing the swap to preserve key personnel.
Key personnel. Me.
The intern who'd stumbled on their dirty secret, Biogen dosing test subjects with black market fentanyl analogs, cutting corners to fast-track FDA approval. I'd threatened to whistleblow. Dad had tried to intervene, and boom. Fire in the hole. My phone buzzed, a text from Quinn's number.
Hey.
How's Dad? Stuck in traffic. Cubs game running late. Baseball. Of course. He'd always hated it. Preferred the opera Mom dragged him to. Imposter. I typed back. Fingers flying, not great. Doc says it's bad.
Come home.
3 dots. Then on my way. Love you.
Man. Love.
The word curdled my gut. I turned to the bed, where my trapped self wheezed softly. Hang on, I murmured, brushing hair from foreheads that weren't quite right, his gray. Mine's still brown in the photos. I'm getting us out. But out of what? The swap wasn't just tech, it was a cage of complicity. Junior had power, Biogen board seat now. Married to some socialite. Rubbing elbows with senators at Davos.
Me.
A burned-out caregiver with a rap sheet of parking tickets. Controversial decisions loomed. Expose it all. Drag the pharma giant down. But at what cost? Jobs lost. Families ruined. Or go dark. Personal. Carve out his eyes with the truth. Make him feel the isolation I'd endured. Night fell like a guillotine. I prepped the guest room. Not for comfort, but confrontation. Morphine vials from the hospice kit lined the nightstand. Innocent blue ampoules hiding lethal potential. Mercy killing? Or assisted suicide for a soul long dead? The line blurred. Ethics fraying like cheap rope. Headlights swept the driveway at 10:47 p.m. The front door creaked open, and there he was, me. Quinn Hargrove. In the flesh. Lean from gym sessions I never took. Hair styled with product I couldn't afford. wearing a Bears hoodie that smelled of craft beer and cologne. My eyes widened at the sight of the wheelchair in the living room, then narrowed on me. Quinn? What the hell? You look like shit. I smiled, slow and sharp as a stiletto.
Funny.
You don't. He froze. The tablet clutched behind my back like a loaded gun. The air crackled, thick with the scent of impending storm. 11 years of buried secrets clawing to the surface. Time to dig. He stepped inside, kicking the door shut with a boot that echoed like a judge's gavel. The living room felt smaller suddenly, walls closing in like the jaws of a bear trap. Junior, Elias Crow Jr., thief of faces, scanned the space, his gaze lingering on the wheelchair. The blanket rumpled where my true self slumped, eyes half-lidded but watchful. I could see the calculation flickering behind those stolen blues, the same ones that used to stare back from my bathroom mirror on hungover mornings. Traffic was a bitch, he said, forcing a grin that didn't reach his eyes. He shrugged off the hoodie, tossing it over the couch arm. My couch, bought with my first bonus. Cubs pulled it out in extras.
Though.
That rookie pitcher? Kid's got arm like Nolan Ryan. He moved to the kitchenette, rifling the fridge for a Goose Island IPA, popping the cap with a church key from the drawer. Casual. Too casual. Like he owned the place. Which, legally,
He did.
I followed, tablet burning a hole in my pocket. Skip the small talk. Elias. Or should I call you Quinn? Fitting,
Right?
stealing a dead man's name. The bottle froze halfway to his lips. Beer sloshed, foaming over his knuckles. He set it down slow, turning with the precision of a man who'd rehearsed alibis in boardrooms. What the fuck are you on about? Dad have a bad night? You need to sleep.
Man.
You're talking crazy. Crazy. I laughed, pulling the tablet free, thumbing it awake. The screen glowed accusingly. Files open to the echo logs. This crazy? Neural signature QH alpha. Timestamp 2:14 a.m. October 17th, 2013. That's me, Elias. My brain waves bleeding into this body while yours hijacked mine. You triggered it to shut me up.
Didn't you?
I found the fentanyl logs, the ghost patients dying in trials. Dad tried to protect me, and you lit the match. His face drained of color, but he recovered quick, slick as WD-40 on a courtroom floor. He lunged, not for the tablet, but for my throat, hands clamping like vice grips. You don't know shit. Spittle flecked his lips, eyes wild with the cornered rat gleam. We grappled, crashing into the counter, dishes shattering like brittle bones. I was stronger than I looked. Years of heaving dead weight had forged me into something unbreakable. I kneed him in the gut, wind wheeling out in a whoosh, and shoved him back. He gasped, sliding to the floor amid cornflakes and broken mugs. It was mercy, he wheezed, clutching his ribs. The fire was coming anyway, faulty wiring. You idiots cutting corners. I saved you. Put your mind in a body that could survive. Liar. I towered over him, chest heaving, the tablet clutched like a shield. Dad died in that blaze. You swapped us to frame him, make it look like he botched the trial. Embezzled funds. Biogen stock tanked.
But you?
You walked away with my life. My identity. Clean slate. He crawled to his knees, wiping blood from a split lip. My lip.
Once.
Your life?
Please.
You were a nobody.
Quinn.
In turn fetching coffee, banging the receptionist on the sly. I gave you purpose, kept the family afloat with that settlement. Who do you think lawyered up? Spun the narrative?
Me.
In your skin.
Purpose.
The word twisted like a knife in my ribs. I believed it. Hadn't I? The grind. The guilt. The endless cycle of meds and meals. All to atone for a sin I didn't commit. Betrayal sank deeper now. Roots tangling with rage. This wasn't just theft, it was erasure. He'd lived my dreams, the promotion I never got. The wedding I never had. Hell, he'd probably voted in my name, streamed porn on my Netflix, jerked off to my high school yearbook crush. From the living room, a groan low, guttural. My true self, stirring in the chair. Juniors had snapped toward it, panic flashing. What the, you brought him here? After what Crow Sr. said. I knelt. I level now. Our faces inches apart, mirrors cracked by time and treachery.
Yeah. Me. The real me.
Trapped while you played house. He lunged again. Feral. Nails raking my cheek. We tumbled. Fists flying in a blur of grunts and curses. The coffee table flipped. Photos scattering like confetti at a funeral. A frame cracked under my elbow, me and Dad at Wrigley. Grins wide as the outfield. I pinned him. Forearm across his throat. The tablet skittering across the floor. Why? I snarled. Power? Money? Or just because you could? His eyes bulged. Veins popping like map lines on a war zone. All of it, he choked. And more. Your dad's secret? He wasn't clean.
Quinn.
He greenlit the dosing, pushed the trials to beat competitors. I covered for him.
But you.
You were collateral. The words landed like napalm.
Dad.
My hero. The man who taught me to throw a curveball and question authority. A cog in the machine grinding lives to dust. I eased off. Just enough for him to gasp air.
Proof.
Or it's bullshit. Junior coughed. Rolling away. Snatching the tablet. He tapped furiously, pulling a subfolder buried under layers of encryption. Audio file. Dad's voice. Clipped and urgent. Elias. Ramp it up. FDA sniffing. We need data.
Clean data.
Whatever it takes. My world tilted. The betrayal doubled, fracturing like safety glass. Dad hadn't protected me. He'd sold me out.
To
ambition. To the American dream's dark underbelly, where whistleblowers end up as statistics. Tears stung. Hot and unwelcome. You both deserve hell. But I built something, Junior pressed. Scrambling to his feet, backing toward the door. Biogen's back, I'm VP now. Cures. Real ones. You're nothing without me. Nothing. The echo hollowed me. I'd been nothing to them, a vessel. A scapegoat.
But now?
I was awake. Call the cops, I said, echoing Crow Sr.'s whisper. Or I will. With everything. He bolted. Door slamming. Taillights vanishing into the night. I staggered to the living room, collapsing beside the chair. My other self gaunt, withered, locked eyes with me. A twitch. Deliberate. 2 blinks. Yes. Understanding. We end this, I whispered, cradling my hand. Together. Dawn broke gray and unforgiving. Coffee brewing bitter as regret. I spent the morning compiling evidence. Emails, scans. The audio looped like a dirge. Crow Sr. arrived at 8 a.m. sharp. Face haggard. A USB drive in hand, backups from Biogen's archives. Smuggled out in a fit of paternal guilt. Juniors hold up at the old lab site, he said. Voice gravel. Converted to condos. But he kept the sublevel. Security's tight. Ex-mercs on payroll. Mercs. Of course. Power like his didn't come cheap. It came with muscle. The kind that asked no questions and left no traces. Controversial choice 1. Go solo. Storm the castle like a B-movie hero? Or loop in the feds? Risk the whole machine burying us under red tape and national security bullshit? I chose hybrid, anonymous tip to the Chicago PD's white-collar unit. Laced with just enough to hook them. Pharma exec faked identity in fatal lab fire. Ongoing fraud.
Then,
Me and Crow Sr. Tooling west in his Tesla. The chair folded in the trunk like a bad omen. Dad trapped me, stayed with Maria. Sedated and safe. Family emergency, I'd lied. The irony burned. The condos were a yuppie wet dream. Glass facades gleaming over what used to be Biogen's husk. Now lofts with skyline views and artisanal coffee bars. We parked in the shadows of a loading dock. Crow picking the service lock with a gadget that screamed midlife crisis. Sublevel access. A freight elevator groaning to life. Descending into concrete tombs lit by flickering halogens. Echoes of the past assaulted me, scorched walls patched sloppily. The faint char of melted wiring. We crept through corridors lined with dusty servers. Humming like dormant beasts. Voices ahead, juniors. Sharp and commanding. Double the dose. If the bleed worsens, we recalibrate. No loose ends. We peered through a server rack. There he was, my face. Twisted in mania, hunched over a console. For lines snaking into his arm. Monitors beeping neural readouts. Flanking him, 2 goons in black tactical gear. Earpieces crackling. Holsters bulging. Power incarnate. Scheming in the dark. Crow Sr. gripped my arm. That's the echo rig. He's trying to swap back or worse. Upload to the cloud. Immortalize the lie. Immortal. The controversy spiked. Destroy it. Erase the tech that could save lives? Or seize it? Play God myself? My hand itched for the Beretta Crow had pressed into my palm. Borrowed from a cop buddy. He claimed. Gunpowder resolution. American as apple pie and manifest destiny. We burst in. Crow yelling FBI as bluff. The goons spun. Drawing iron. Chaos erupted, shots cracking like thunderclaps. Ricocheting off metal. I dove behind a console. Returning fire wild. The recoil jarring my shoulder like a mule kick. One merc dropped, clutching his knee, howling. The other tackled Crow, fists pounding like pistons. Junior bolted for a side door, rig humming to life. You can't stop progress, he screamed over the din, slamming a console button. Alarms wailed, red lights strobing. I pursued. Lungs burning. The Beretta barking. A graze along his arm, my arm, spun him. Blood blooming dark on the hoodie. He crashed into the doorframe. Eyes wide with animal fear. Quinn, please. We're the same. Same? I advanced. Gun steady now. Trained on his chest. You stole my body. My father. My fucking life. For what? To be a king in a castle of bones. He laughed. Manic. Blood bubbling. Your father knew the score.
Capitalism.
Baby, eat or be eaten. I just optimized. The word ignited the fuse. I pulled the trigger, but hesitated. Controversial mercy? End him quick. Or drag him to justice. Let the courts grind slow. Sirens pierce the din. Real cops now. Tires screeching topside. The mercs surrendered. Zip-tied by arriving badges. Crow Sr., bruised but breathing, nodded grimly. Junior slumped, clutching the wound, the rig sparking behind him. Twist's coming, he gasped. You think this ends me? Dad's the architect. He greenlit Echo to cover his own embezzlement. Your precious father? Rot in hell with me. Another fracture.
Dad.
The villain too? The betrayal layered. Onion skin thin. Peeling to pulp. Cops swarmed.
Cuffs clicking.
As they hauled Junior away, me away, he locked eyes. Mouthing, you'll see. Crow Sr. babbled to detectives, flashing credentials.
Me?
I stood amid the wreckage. Gun smoking. Soul adrift. Back home. Maria waited. Dad, me, stable but fading. I sat vigil. Morphine drip steady. Whispering confessions to the void. If it's true. Forgive me. I avenged us anyway. Night 2. Sleep evaded. Dreams a carousel of fire and faces swapping like cards in a con. Morning brought warrants. Headlines ticking on my phone. Pharma air busted in identity fraud sting. Biogen stock plummeted. Senators scrambling for distance. But the twist nod. Dad's complicity. I dug deeper. Hacking old servers with freelance skills honed in isolation. Buried ledger. Transfers to offshore accounts. Dad's initials on falsified trials. The secret unburied itself. Rotten core exposed. He'd betrayed me first. To save his empire. Junior? Just the patsy in the endgame. Rage evolved, not blind, but surgical. I met Crow Sr. at a diner off I-90. Hash browns congealing untouched. The rig, I said. Can it reverse? He paled. Theoretically. But risky. Neural degradation after a decade? You might end up. Neither. A limbo worse than this. Controversial call. Risk oblivion for wholeness? Or embrace the hybrid? The survivor forged in fraud's fire? I chose risk. We reconvened at the impounded lab, under-the-table access bought with Crow's Rolodex. The rig hummed anew. Probes cold against my scalp, no. The old man's scalp. Junior watched from a holding cell feed, smirking on the monitor. Do it. Become the monster. Straps tightened. Current surged. A lightning storm in my veins. Visions flashed. The fire. Dad screams. Junior's incantation at the console. For the family, Dad's voice echoed. For America. Blackness swallowed. Then light.
Pain.
Awakening. I came to in a body that wasn't quite mine, or was it? The hospital room swam into focus. Monitors beeping a frantic Morse code. Crow Sr. hovered. Face a mask of cautious hope, while nurses fluttered like pigeons in a storm. Quinn? Elias?
Talk to me.
My throat worked, dry as desert sand. Quinn, I rasped, the voice mine young, unscarred. I flexed fingers, strong and untwisted, veins mapping paths I'd forgotten. The swap held, tentative as a house of cards in a breeze. But the eyes staring back from the bedside mirror?
Mine.
The real ones, brown flecked with gold, not the faded blue of paternal prison. Relief crashed, tidal and treacherous. 11 years undone in a surge of volts. But the cost? Dad's body lay adjacent. Empty shell now. Life support hissing a dirge. I'd evicted my soul from his husk, leaving it vacant. Mercy, or abandonment, the debate raged in my skull. Ethics a battlefield strewn with what-ifs. You're a miracle, Crow murmured, squeezing my shoulder. Junior's talking, plea deal in motion. Feds are dismantling Biogen brick by brick. Miracle.
Yeah, right.
Miracles don't leave orphans in wheelchairs. I discharged against advice. Cabbing home to Oak Park. The city a blur of steel and spires under a November sky threatening snow. The house felt alien now, too big, too echoey. I wandered rooms, touching relics, my old baseball glove in the closet, Sarah's ghost in a forgotten drawer of lingerie. Junior had kept it all, a museum to his masquerade. Phone buzzed, unknown number. I answered, voice steady. Hargrove. Quinn?
It's
Sarah.
pause. Breathy.
Saw the news.
God.
Can we talk?
Sarah.
The fiancé who'd fled, citing irreconcilable strain.
Now.
Circling back like a moth to flame. Controversy brewed. Forgive the deserter. Rebuild on rubble? Or salt the earth? Like ghosts lie? We met at a dive bar in Wicker Park. The kind with sticky floors and jukebox blues. She looked good, sharper cheekbones, yoga-toned arms, life treating her kinder than me. Over IPAs and wings. She spilled guilt. Therapy. A failed marriage to an accountant who wasn't you. I thought you were trapped.
Quinn. Caregiving.
It broke you. I was scared.
Scared.
The word stung. I'd been terrified daily, of bed sores turning septic, of Dad's cough signaling pneumonia, of the mirror showing a stranger aging in fast forward. You left, I said flat. While I rotted. Tears welled. Mascara smudging. I know. But you're back. The real you. Her hand on mine. Warm.
Tentative.
Spark? Or static? I pulled away. Am I? After what they did? Who the hell am I now? The question haunted depositions. Therapy sessions with a shrink who billed like a surgeon. Feds grilled me for weeks. Timelines. Signatures. The fire's forensics exhumed like a cold case. Junior sang like Sinatra, implicating execs up to the C-suite, Dad's ghost damned by ledgers. Biogen crumbled. Lawsuits blooming like toxic algae in Lake Michigan. Headlines screamed, identity swap scandal rocks pharma world. Was it sci-fi or sin? Public devoured it. Podcasts dissected the body snatchers. Cable news pitted ethicists against libertarians. Playing God for profit, thundered one pundit. Innovation stifled by fearmongers, countered another.
Me? I dodged spotlights.
Testifying in closed sessions. The weight of buried secrets lifting but leaving craters. Power shifted. Crow Sr., redeemed or ruined, offered a job. Consult on ethical neural tech. Make it right. Salary 6 figures. Office with a view of the loop. Tempting, climb the ladder I'd been denied. Wield the sword that scarred me. But trust? Shattered as Dad's spine. One night, rain lashing windows like accusations. I cracked. Drove to the hospice. where Dad's body lingered in limbo. Machines a mechanical rosary. Maria met me at the door, eyes soft. He's gone.
Quinn.
Past peaceful this morning.
Gone.
The final betrayal, or release. I sign the papers. DNR honored. Cremation simple. No service. Ashes scattered at Wrigley, where we cheered together in another life. For the long ball, I whispered to the wind. Diamond lights blurring. Revenge's climax brewed in shadows. Junior's trial loomed. Federal courthouse in the loop, a fortress of marble and metal detectors. I prepped testimony like a prizefighter. Facts as jabs. Emotion as haymakers. But Twist whispered, what if I torched it all? Leak the full echo files to WikiLeaks. Ignite a firestorm beyond courts. Controversial Armageddon. Expose the rot. Damn the innocent collaterals? The night before court, he called from Cook County Jail. Voice tinny through glass.
Quinn.
Brother. Laughter.
Hollow.
You win. But know this, Dad's last words. In the fire, save the boy.
Me. Not you.
He chose his legacy over his son. The reversal gutted. Dad hadn't sold me. He'd sacrificed to shield Junior, the prodigy he'd mentored. I was the mistake, the intern in the wrong place. Rage inverted not at ghosts, but mirrors. Who avenges a pawn? Court day dawned brutal, wind whipping off the lake like Arctic knives. I took the stand, suit ill-fitting on a frame bulked by grief gym. Jurors stared. Faces a jury of American everymen, truckers, teachers, techies. DA paced. Building the case, fraud, manslaughter, identity theft under enhanced cyber statutes. Then Junior, shackled but sharp-suited, eyes locked on mine. His lawyer, a Fox News regular, cross-examined, Mr. Hargrove, the elder, authorized the trials. Correct? You benefited from the settlement. Lived comfortably. Comfortably, I snapped, voice cracking the gallery hush. 11 years as a prisoner in my own aftermath. While he, jerked to Junior, partied in my skin. Murmurs rippled. Judge banged gavel. But Junior's turn, he testified. Tear-streaked, spinning redemption arc. I was young, pressured. Took the swap to save lives, including his. Points to me. Echo works. He walks because of it. Lies. Laced with half-truths. Jury wavered. Media lapped it up. Deliberations stretched days. Headlines hedging. Pharma swap. Hero or horror? Verdict. Guilty on lesser counts, fraud. Conspiracy, but manslaughter tossed on technicality. 10 years. Eligible parole in 5.
Light.
Too light. As bailiffs led him away, he winked my wink. See you on the outside. Quinn. Outside. Protesters clashed, pickets for justice for victims versus suits chanting innovation now. I slipped through, nausea churning. Revenge tasted ash. Climax a whimper. Sarah waited curbside, umbrella shielding her from sleet. It's over, she said, linking arm. Build new.
New.
The word dangled. Seductive. We drove to her place, sleek condo in Lincoln Park. Views of the yacht club, and for a night, I let it win. Skin on skin. Her sighs erasing echoes. But dawn brought clarity, pleasure as bandage. Not cure. I ghosted her after. Phone silenced. Road tripping south on I-55. Blues radio crooning Muddy Waters. Memphis called Beale Street, barbecue joints thick with smoke and soul. Reinvention. American style. Shed the skin. Chase horizons. But secrets clawed back. Crow Sr. emailed. Echo prototype recovered.
Want in?
Fix what we broke.
Fix.
The hook sank deep. Back in Chicago by spring. Office polished glass overlooking the river. Team of eggheads buzzing. We retooled Echo, ethical firewalls. Consent protocols, ironclad. First trial, a vet with ALS. Mind mapped to a cloned neural net. Body puppet remotely. Success. He walked a marathon in SimSpace. Tears streaming. Power surged. Intoxicating. Senators courted. TED Talk invites flooded. But darkness lingered. Junior's appeals grinding. Whispers of his manifesto smuggled out, decrying me as the true thief. Controversy peaked at a gala. Black tie affair at the Art Institute. Donors swilling Dom Perignon amid Monets. Sarah appeared, arm in arm with a venture capitalist. Her laugh a dagger. Quinn, she purred. Air kissing. The prodigy returns. VC nodded. Appraising. Heard about the swap.
Wild.
You ever think? What if it was fate? Second chance.
Fate.
Bullshit theology for boardroom cowboys. I drain my scotch. Scanning the crowd. There, Crow Sr., cornered by reporters. And beyond, a face from the shadows, Junior's lawyer, schmoozing a congressman. The plan crystallized, dark and delicious. No guns this time, information as ammo. I slipped to the balcony, lake wind whipping tux tails, and uploaded the unredacted files to a dark web drop. Dad's ledgers. Junior's love letters to a mistress, paid from slush funds. Biogen's ties to opioid cartels south of the border. Leak hit like a nuke. By morning, FBI raids. Stocks cratered anew. My name cleared but stained. Junior's deal imploded. Supermax beckoned. Crow Sr. called. Furious. You've destroyed us.
Us.
I laughed. You built the monster. I just fed it. Climax revenge, not death, but destitution. Power stripped, schemes unraveled. But the twist reversed again. My upload included Echo's core code. Hackers swarmed. Black market boomed. Swaps underground. Identities auctioned like NFTs. Chaos I birthed. Guilt gnawed. By tragic blooming. I'd avenged, but unleashed Pandora's drive. Sarah texted, proud or paranoid?
Both.
I replied. And neither. Summer sweltered. Humidity a shroud. I walked Wrigley alone. Ivy walls whispering old cheers. A beer in hand. Foul lines blurring. Happy ending? Or cautionary? Readers, hell. Me still debating. Fall circled back. Leaves carpeting Oak Park in crimson judgment. The house sold quick, cash buyer. No questions, proceeds funding a loft downtown. Minimalist steel and glass. Views of the Sears Tower piercing clouds like accusations. I furnish sparse. Leather sectional. Wall of monitors tracking Echo's bastard offspring online. A single photo framed me and Dad pre-fire. Grins untainted. Work consumed. Consulting morphed to founding Neuroforge. Startup pitching consciousness augmentation to VCs drooling over transhumanist bucks. Board meetings in WeWork hives. Jargon flying. Neural plasticity. Quantum entanglement of self. I played the survivor card. TEDx keynotes drawing standing O's. Book deal whispers from Penguin. American hustle. Phoenix from fraud's ashes. But nights? Sleepless marathons. Scotch chasing phantoms. Dreams of the chair. Fingers twitching impotent. Was it mercy killing Dad's shell? Or matricide of my past? Therapy unpacked it, PTSD layered with identity dysphoria. Shrink prescribing beta blockers and radical acceptance.
Acceptance.
Easy for her. Billing hourly from a Lincoln Park brownstone. Sarah resurfaced at a launch party. Gala redux at Navy Pier. Fireworks exploding over the lake like neural misfires. She wore red. Curve-hugging. Eyes smoky, with intent. Missed you, she said. Champagne flute dangling. The world's yours now. Room for two. Temptation coiled. Serpent slick. Sex that night was furious. Reclaiming, her nails raking back where scars had swap sites. Moans drowning doubts. Morning after. Coffee black as conscience. She broached. Marry me. Close the loop. Loop. The irony choked. I'd swapped lives once, now. Bind to the runaway? Controversial vow. Till death do us part. Or till truth unravels anew. I demurred. Soon, buying time with kisses. Junior's appeal hit walls. But letters trickled, jailhouse scrawls. Penmanship mirroring mine. You think you won? I'm free in here. No more bleeding echoes. You're the prisoner now. Chasing ghosts in a suit. Mind games? Or prophecy? Paranoia bloomed. I installed cameras. Swept for bugs. Ubered everywhere. Trusting no will. Crow Sr. faded. Stroke at 68. Irony's cruel jab. On his deathbed. Grant Park Hospital reeking of wilted lilies. He confessed. Echo wasn't just prophet. Your dad. He wanted immortality. For the family curse, Huntington's, lurking in your genes. Swap to buy time.
Curse.
The final reversal. Dad hadn't betrayed for greed. But love's desperation. Shield me from the tick. The tremor. The slow dissolve. Junior? Tool in the tragedy. Ambition amplifying folly.
I.
Heir to the horror. Neurons ticking bomb. Genetic test confirmed. Positive. Late onset. 10 years. Maybe 20. The knowledge settled. Leaden. Revenge complete. But Pyrrhic avenged a lie. Inherited the void. I ghosted Sarah fully. Voicemail full of pleas turning to rage. Coward, she spat last. Always were. Maybe. Or survivor. Shedding skins. Winter gripped Chicago. Lake effect snow burying sins. I shuttered Neuroforge. Assets liquidated. Donated to Spinal Foundation's ironic penance. Road called again. RV rumbling west on I-80. Blues playlist looping Howlin' Wolf. Stops. Badlands motels. Vegas neon blurring regrets. Cali coast where waves erased footprints. In Joshua Tree. Under star-pricked sky. Epiphanies struck, not thunder. But whisper. The swap hadn't stolen me, it had forged. Caregiver's grit. Vendetta's fire. Survivor's spine. Happy?
No.
Ho. Closer. Final controversial act. One last upload. Manifesto digital. The Echo Files. Truth.
Lies.
And the American soul. No redactions. Full disclosure. Dad's heroism. Junior's hubris. My haunting. Readers rioted online. Forums flamed. Op-eds debated. Vigilante justice or viral vanity? TikToks memed my face. Deepfakes swapping it with celebs. Back east by spring. Anonymity a myth. I settled in a cabin upstate. Adirondacks whispering pine secrets. Wood stove crackling. Manuscript brewing this story. Words spilling like bloodletting. Ending open. Redemption arc or tragedy's echo. You decide.
For now.
Peace in the twitch-free quiet. The man in the mirror? Mine. Finally. Quinn Hargrove. Reclaimed.